Welcome to the regular Bellevue City Council meeting for December 4th, 2023. We do not have Councilmember Robertson here tonight, but we do have 6 others. So, Clerk, would you like to do the roll call?
Mayor Robinson.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Newenhouse.
Here.
Councilmember Barksdale.
Here.
Councilmember Lee.
Here.
Councilmember Robertson is out, as the mayor said. Councilmember Stokes.
Here.
And Councilmember Zahn.
Here.
Councilmember Barksdale, will you lead us in the flag salute?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, we have a commendation for Councilmember Barksdale. And Councilmember Stokes, would you read it, please?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Whereas Councilmember Jeremy Barksdale has served the city of Bellevue and the community honorably since his appointment to the Planning Commission in 2015 and election by residents to serve on the City Council in 2019. And whereas Councilmember Barksdale has faithfully supported the city's continuous efforts to be inclusive, with a particular interest in affordable housing and transportation options for all, while ensuring small business can be successful in Bellevue. And whereas Councilmember Barksdale has provided invaluable guidance in alignments and appointments on several boards and committees, including the King County Flood Control District Advisory Committee, Cascade Water Alliance Board of Directors, King County Safe Energy Leadership Alliance, King County Cities Climate Collaborative, King County's Association Public Issues Committee, Probation Advisory Board, Youth Link Board, King County Regional Law, Safety and Justice Committee, Puget Sound Regional Council Executive Board, and many others. And whereas Councilmember Barksdale has shown unwavering dedication to our city during his tenure through his tireless efforts in shaping the policies and initiatives that enhance the quality of life for Bellevue's community members now and for generations to come, including co-chairing the Wilburton Commercial Area Citizen Advisory Committee for the Grand Connection visioning process. And whereas Councilmember Barksdale's legacy includes countless accomplishments representing progress and positive change by advocating for transportation improvements, championing environmental initiatives, and addressing social issues for the betterment of all people in the city of Bellevue. Now, therefore, I, on behalf of Lynn Robinson and on behalf of the council, do hereby, on this 4th day of December in the year 2023, hereby commend Jeremy Barksdale for exceptional dedication and service to meeting the current and future needs of the Bellevue community. Signed by Lynn Robinson, Mayor, City of Bellevue.
So I think we'll go ahead and do the council comments, and then we'll have staff do comments. And if you do want to make comments as well, okay. And then we'll do a picture. All right, so Councilmember Zahn, why don't we start with you?
Okay. Well, thank you, Mayor. Wow, okay. I'm going to go first. You know, Jeremy, I think of you as a fellow council member, but also a friend. And when I thought about what I wanted to say, actually, the comments earlier at the reception really did reflect what I would have wanted to say if I was more eloquent. Narima's poem that she literally wrote in 45 minutes to talk about how you are it. And it makes me think about the fact that ever since I've known you, you always lead with values. And those values are very much what was in the commendation about the betterment of all people. So the fact that even in your own reception, you chose not to speak so that you could spend more time with community is really a testament of who you are and how you show up. That at the end of the day, the work that you do is always in service to others. And I think that I have learned so much from you that as we think about the policies that we take on in Bellevue, we always start with our purpose and our why. And grounded in who's not in the room, who are we not hearing from, And how do we make sure we create that space to lift up those voices? And so I'm really going to miss you. And so I know you're going to go from Councilmember Barksdale to Jeremy, and I look forward to many more years of working together with you, grounded in community, because when I think about what it means to model diversity, equity, and inclusion, the piece I always think about you is that you're creating that space of belonging for everybody, and that really matters. Because at the end of the day, there's a lot of challenges that we work on, but if we are always grounded in our why of making sure we're bettering everybody, then whatever policy we work on are going to be stronger because of it. And as we move forward with our communities of color coordinating efforts, I will think about the partnership we had in making sure that we continue the legacy of that work and your work on that. Thank you.
Councilmember Lee, let's have you next.
Okay, thank you. Hi, Jeremy. Thanks for serving with us for the last 4 years. And it's very important that we have a perspective, a voice that includes everyone, which we really didn't have on the council in the past in the leadership position. And as you always advocate, for equality, for voices, for all, and which really means all, right? The city's motto is, welcome diversity, right? So it's important that you have a perspective, personal one that you brought to the council, and also obviously representing the community fully. So I think that is something that we have gained through you, and you've done a very, as Jenna mentioned, you have that value in you, and you have any opportunity every time you bring it out, which is important because we all need to be constantly reminded, need to be working toward, the goal. Sometimes goals are not that easy to reach unless unless we have a persistent voice that represents it and an advocate for it, and you've done that. So thank you. We'll miss you.
Councilmember Stokes.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a thing in front of me here that says a whole lot about Jeremy. Oh, I just read that. I'd repeat it. We talk about Bellevue, and we came up with this slogan in a sense, the Bellevue welcomes the world, our diversity is our strength. I always say we really mean it, and we do. And you've come to really represent that in a very positive way and made us look at it and say, yes, we say this, but let's do this. And I think that's one of the things I will never forget about. But it's just been a joy working with you, and I look forward to working with you going forward. You've made a great impact here, and you'll make great impacts outside. And I appreciated your working with me together right from the beginning on a number of issues. And I expect to continue doing that in the future. So best to you, and it's been a blessing to have you here, and be a blessing having you out working with us out on the outside. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Losing my video game buddy here. We're in the same industry, if you're not aware. Jerry, it's been a pleasure serving with you. It really has, especially under. Please put your hand down, Mr. Zimmerman. It's been a pleasure serving with you these 4 years, and you probably had the toughest start to any council member could ask for when you first started, given the pandemic and whatnot. But no, it's been a great 4 years. I so appreciate, as Councilmember Stokes mentioned during your commendation, being such a great advocate for a lot of things that I share the same passion for you, like the mom and pop shops. Whenever there was an opportunity to advocate for them, that came up, and appreciate that. I also appreciate your voice around something we got to work on, the apprenticeship program. That was a great program that, that came to fruition in our city. And also your interest in nightlife in Bellevue as well. And really the DEI lens you brought to the council was really important as well. And really, shifted the way we looked at some issues differently as a council, and that was really important. And I hope that those things live on beyond your tenure here, that they live on as a council. So, and really, just really respect your commitment to this community. Like Councilor Marzon, I was moved by some of the speeches and that wonderful poem as well. So, I mean, you've really, done some great work, and we'll certainly miss you, and want to wish you all the best in the future.
Well, Councilmember Barksdale, you came on during a very tumultuous time, and right when COVID was starting. Mr. Zimmerman, this is your second time we've asked you not to wave your hand while someone's talking. I'm asking you not to. Thank you. And I had to enact mayoral duties during that time that I don't think any mayor has had to do previously. Very crazy time. And as a new council member, I can only imagine how frustrating it must have been to come on to this new role wanting to make rapid change in a time when the council just wanted to keep the city going during a very challenging time. But you've learned a lot in 4 years. You really have. You learned about the 8-hour rule. You learned about the council budgeting process. You learned how to work with the council to advance initiatives, and you were successful. And so I congratulate you. And I want to thank you for your work, not only on the council, but as a council member in the community, and on all the boards and commissions. You put a tremendous amount of time and effort into that, and you've done a good job. And I think I speak for everyone when I say you will be missed. So why don't we have staff? I'll let staff figure out themselves.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, council members. Councilmember Barksdale, on behalf of the leadership team, I want to express our appreciation and our thanks for your service to the city. In addition to all the things that the council members have indicated tonight, we have a few thanks as well. First, for generously sharing your time and your energy with the staff and the community. Also, for supporting the city's continued efforts to be inclusive and welcoming to all. For having an interest in ensuring city programs support local businesses, and as was noted, the nightlife, and that it represents a diversity of the community. For being an effective voice for Bellevue in regional boards and committees, and for leaving a lasting legacy of how the city has and will grow into the future through your planning commission membership, your liaison work, and your work on the city council. And to follow in the tradition of ensuring that you take a reminder of your time with the city with you, we have a little something to present to you.
Oh. That's awesome.
It's all yours.
We'll do pictures with it, Jeremy. Okay. Yeah, we'll do. I'll pick anything more from. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor.
Any other? Is that collective? Okay. All right. Well, let's go ahead and do that photo op.
All right. Well, thank you. I've been greatly moved by everyone's presence and kind words today. It's, as you've probably heard, it's been a journey of 4 years coming in with the pandemic and the social justice efforts. And but I have learned a lot, and I would not be here without you. And so I just extend a debt of gratitude for all of you, whether it's for your support getting onto the council, your support and engagement while being on the council. And I just am looking forward to continuing to build on the relationships with you all to do this work. I do want to say to staff, it was a learning process for me, right? And I appreciate you all really helping me out and making sense of what's happening and in terms of the policies and coming up, integrating the ideas into policies and current systems. And you all have a tremendous amount of work that you do that I don't know that everyone realizes to keep the city running and to integrate the ideas and thoughts from the community and from council and so forth. So I really appreciate all that you all do as well. And to the community, really appreciate all of the support. There were times when, I mean, each kind of group has a different role in my life here, but whether it's on some of the key issues, being able to kick the tires and talk about the problems that we need to address and coming up with ideas, and also just sometimes just being an ear. For some of you out there, you've heard me going through the challenging moments, and I really appreciate you being there for me in those moments. And to council, thank you. I know I've been a stretch at times, but I appreciate your grace in working with me and on the issues that ultimately affect our community, and we're all here for the same reason. So I really appreciate all of your collaboration in that effort. So thank you all.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so we're on to oral communications. City Clerk, do we have anyone signed up?
Thank you, Mayor. This evening, there are 12 pre-registered speakers. So before I start calling names, I want to go over a few of the rules that the council has put in place for oral communications. So the total time for oral communications is for a period of no more than 30 minutes, and topics must relate to the City of Bellevue government. Person speaking to items on the agenda tonight will be called first, and if time remains, persons speaking to an item not on tonight's agenda will be called. In both of those categories, the presiding officer has the preference or can provide preference to those who have not spoken to council within the last 60 days or who will be speaking on a topic that will come in front of council in the next 60 days. Each speaker will be allowed 3 minutes to speak, and only 3 speakers will be allowed to speak to any one side of a particular topic. And with that, I will call our first speaker, who is Barbara Hughes. I believe, oh, there we go. She is in person.
My name is Barbara Hughes, and I'm on the board of the Bridle Trails Community Club regarding the new park. Thank you, City Council members, and especially the park staff who've tirelessly worked to give us this new park on 140th Avenue Northeast in the east of Bridle Trails. We don't have many places to gather and meet neighbours where I live in Bridle Trails on the east, so this park's a new, very welcome addition to our neighbourhood. How I wish that my child was tiny again, so I could walk down the hill holding her hand, safely cross 140th Avenue Northeast on the new crosswalk, and enjoy the company of my neighbours and make new friends, all amongst our beautiful tall trees in our amazing new park. I'm so excited that we now have this beautiful place to gather. and I shall definitely plan to enjoy sitting surrounded by nature in the new park. Maybe I'll read my book, but more likely I'll simply sit and chat with new friends of all ages. Many of you have heard me speak before about the importance of third places, these local no-cost spaces where anyone can enter and find community, where you slowly begin to know everyone's name and they know yours, where someone notices if you're absent for a while and folks begin to help each other when the need arises. Too many of these places no longer exist as we build up our cities. This park will provide bridle trails with another third place to gather. I went to a sad gathering yesterday, a celebration of a life which ended way too soon. Around 30 or so folks gathered to celebrate that life now lost. Folks of every age and stage of life, originally from all across the US and the world, but now rooted here in the greater East Side community. Where did we all meet this friend, and how these 30 folks connected, you may wonder? The answer is, we met in a park. Every single one of us just happened to walk into a park, and somewhere along the line we began to chat. Then we got to know each other more and more. New folks came, and those who'd already met introduced them to each other, and the group grew and grew. And now this group greets each other with love and joy. We became friends because of a park. That's why I'm here to say thank you. And I very much hope that this new park will be named Bridle Trails Valley Creek Park, which is the preferred name of the Bridle Trails Community Club Board. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker on the list is Barbara Braun, who is joining us virtually. Ms. Braun, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can. Your time begins now.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and council members. My name is Barbara Braun. I'm a founding member of 300 Trees. Last week, we were excited to review Bellevue's tree canopy assessment, and we were encouraged to note an overall increase in Bellevue's tree canopy over the last decade. In addition to this good news, there is also some concerning news. As Don Marsh will speak to later, the report shows a trend of tree loss in many of our neighborhoods that must be addressed and reversed. Further, there are several large-scale developments removing hundreds of trees each that are not yet reflected in the report, including the highway expansions, the housing developments adjacent to Coal Creek, and the completion of Energized East Side, to name a few. We must mitigate these impacts and further avoid large-scale tree removal going forward. Collective action is and will continue to be needed to prevent tree canopy loss in the coming years, particularly as we densify. We applaud the priority the city has placed on implementing stronger tree codes. We support the code recommendations of Trees for Livability, including tree removal permit requirements, stronger minimum tree density requirements, carry forward tree protections on land as it changes ownership, tree replacement requirements on large tree removals, better education, and easy code enforcement. In addition to tree codes, the city should take further actions in partnership with community-based organizations, the school district, King County, and others to protect existing trees and forests and to build new canopy to mitigate canopy erosion pressures. For example, implementing a street tree program, working with the school district to reforest school properties, incenting landowners to plant more trees, replacing trees along highways, actively protecting the remaining forested areas of Bellevue, and restricting a removal of trees on parklands and on other public works projects, including Airfield Park. Thank you to our city leaders who have listened to the community and who are taking action. We are encouraged by the continued commitment to our city in a park and to our 40% tree canopy goal. We look forward to partnering with you in the future to keep Bellevue canopied and cool. Thank you very much.
Speaker is Julie Zucker, who is also joining us virtually. Ms. Zucker, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can. Your time begins now.
Perfect, thank you. The previous speaker said mostly everything that I was going to say, and I wholeheartedly support and want to piggyback on those comments. The tree canopy is incredibly important to me personally and to my community. There was recently a few trees that were taken down that have lowered my quality of life because they provided protection from wind and sun and sound. And I also have noticed the ones on the side of the highway by Coal Creek, and I'm not sure what they're doing back there by Cougar Mountain where that road is closed. I'm worried they're cutting trees down. It seems like I would really like to see strong code enforcement where someone can't get a retroactive permit without paying a huge fine. I feel that developers sometimes are okay with a slap on the wrist or, oh, we'll just get that later. I hope that the new tree code will have some teeth to it, some consequences. And I do understand that sometimes hazardous trees need to be taken down, but I think that should be a rare case. I really hope that we can continue to protect our tree canopy. It makes such a beautiful neighborhood and community, and because of logging so many years ago, we don't have big trees, old growth trees to enjoy. And I hope that our great grandchildren will, and that they will still have a forest and not just city and development. While housing is important, I'd rather see us making denser urban areas and keeping tree density requirements as well. I don't think I'm quite as eloquent as the previous speaker, but I just want to double down on her comments. And thank you also for taking these efforts into consideration. And I hope that we'll strengthen Bellevue's tree codes. I would also like to see easy public reporting for tips. I want to add that comment because when I reported a tree being cut down, it was kind of difficult for me to get in touch with anyone. So I would really like to see that as part of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker this evening is Elaine Duncan, who's also joining us virtually. Ms. Duncan, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Your time begins now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Your time begins
Okay,
now.
fine. I am speaking also to the tree canopy amendments, and I'm a big supporter of trees. I love them, and I have many on my property. I just want to introduce the idea to you that trees are not an unalloyed good, and the clearing and grading permits that your ordinance requires for removal of landmark trees can have a real significant impact on homeowners. I don't know if anybody has looked into where the landmark trees are in Bellevue, but I wanted to share my experience with your permit process. I don't know how unique it is. I live on Cougar Mountain. I have just over an acre, and I probably have 24 or more landmark trees on my property. In 2017, one fell on my house. Last year, one narrowly missed my house. And I've learned a lot about the whole process now, having spent over $2,000 just to get a permit to remove a sick tree, because portions of my property are in critical areas located next to a stream and a hillside. Beyond that $2,000, I had to spend over $2,300 on a certified arborist to prepare the extensive reports required by the clearing and grading permit, even though the tree that was going to be removed was not itself in a critical area. Then I had to spend $2,000 or $3,000 to remove the tree. Now I discover I have other trees on my property that are sick, and others that are likely to be affected by laminated root rot, which I discovered I have on my property. So I'm really worried how these issues are going to affect me and my ability to keep my property safe in the future. So just a heads up that these are complicated issues and they affect different people differently. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. The next speaker on our list is Loretta Lopez, who's joining us in person.
Hello, I'm Loretta Lopez and I'm co-president of the Brattle Trails Community Club. I'm here tonight to thank the Parks Department for working with our community for 15 years now. We started in 2008 after a parks levy was passed, and we worked with the Parks Department to try to find property in the Brattle Trails area. We found one, and it's now the Brattle Trails Corner Park. Some of you were there when we opened the park in 2015. We worked with the Parks Department to try to save money so that we wouldn't spend a lot on that park, so we would have some money left over to acquire property, possibly in another area of Brattle Trails. We did, years later, find another piece of property, continued to work with the Parks Department, and now we're almost finished. And so usually we're here to have other types of statements. Tonight we're here to say thank you very much. Thank you to the Parks Department, and it was a successful public engagement experience over 15 years. And we thank Pam Fairman and Scott Vanderheiden, I think they're present tonight, because although it took a long time, they were patient, they were persistent, and now the people of Bellevue and surrounding communities will have a beautiful park in which to take their children and have a great time. So thank you very much.
Thank you. The next speaker on the list is Pamela Johnston.
Hi, I'm the other of the co-presidents of the Brattle Trails Community Club. One of the things that I think is very important to think about in Brattle Trails is that a lot of people have large lots, but a lot of people do not have large lots. A lot of people we have the third most people on unaffordable housing in the city. So parks are very important to us. No matter what, even if you have a big yard, you still will feel lonely if you don't have other people coming by. And that's what's so great about the park. The other thing is this is an environmental park. It's backing on into some utility property which runs through Valley Creek. So people were somewhat like, why are we calling it Valley Creek? What's that name about? That's the creek that's there, and a lot of people didn't even know that that creek existed. So that's why I wanted you to support the name Brattle Trails Valley Creek Park. Thank you.
Sorry, thank you. The next speaker on our list is Dawn Marsh.
Good evening. My name is Don Marsh. I'm co-founder of 300 Trees. And as Barb Braun already said, we were excited to review Bellevue's 2021 Urban Tree Canopy Assessment, which showed an overall increase in Bellevue's tree canopy over the last decade. And that's welcome news. However, the new report contains cautionary statements about the significant loss of tree canopy in suburban residential areas over the 2 years that passed during the pandemic. From 2019 to 2021, these areas lost 65 acres of tree canopy, undoing about half the progress achieved during the previous 8 years. If this were just a temporary hiccup in our ongoing progress, that would be unfortunate. However, with the economic resurgence that followed the pandemic, the removal of trees appears to be accelerating. So I wanted to show you a graph. I was hoping to put it on the screen so our remote viewers could see it as well. I did pass out charts. Yes, that do you have? And if anybody would like to see, I've got a couple of extras left over. You know, it pains me to kill trees in order to save trees, but that's where we are right now. So this graph is based on data from Table 4 of the report. Excluding parkland and focusing on where people live in each neighborhood area, 7 neighborhoods that account for over half the land area in the city lost tree canopy. Although similar patterns of decline occurred in each of these neighborhoods, The declines were steepest in the neighborhoods that already have low tree canopy, like Crossroads, Lake Hills, and Northeast Bellevue. These neighborhoods are more diverse and less affluent than the neighborhoods that gained tree canopy and helped maintain the overall percentage for the city. We are concerned that these neighborhoods may have already fallen below 30% canopy in 2023, well below American Forest's suggested target of 50% for suburban residential areas and 35% for urban residential areas. 300 Trees and the city are helping to build the next generation of urban trees through our popular fall and spring tree giveaway programs. But if we lose too many of our current mature trees, our future will be hotter, dirtier, and noisier. As the tree canopy report says, quote, "It is important for Bellevue to continue to monitor canopy in suburban land use areas to ensure that this is not the start of a downward trend," end quote. Adopting tree protection measures that are fair, effective, and enforceable will be a significant forward step, and we appreciate your support in protecting this legacy on behalf of our wildlife and future generations. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is David Loudenbach.
Good evening, Mayor Robinson and council members. My name is David Loudenbach. This is the third time I've spoken before you. A lot has happened in my life since I spoke in March of this year. I learned that our brains shrink as we grow older. I received my AA degree after almost 40 years this past summer, and now I am continuing my education at Eastern Washington University, where I am a junior. I also have learned that the city of Kirkland is building a swimming pool at the old Houghton Park and Ride. Folks from Kirkland wanted a big Olympic-sized swimming pool, but not in their city. Bellevue became the city with the land. Bellevue Airfield Park should be left as it is. Per the City of Bellevue website, Bellevue is proud to be a city with a park with 2,800 acres of park and open space. The forests in our parks help keep our waters healthy and provide home for wildlife. It's the trees in our neighborhoods, though, that make the city truly special. You'll find this under environmental stewardship under the City of Bellevue. I am a 2023 graduate of the Bellevue Essentials program. We've learned a lot of how the City of Bellevue operates, which isn't easy. For several of the first meetings, the following was said. On behalf of the City of Bellevue, we acknowledge the land we are on as the ancestral of homelands of the Coast Salish people, the traditional home of all tribes and bands, including the Duwamish, Suquamish tribe, Muckleshoot Indian tribe, and the Snoqualmie Indian tribe. We take this opportunity to honor and express our deep respect to the original caretakers of the land, the people that are still here, continuing to honor their heritage. Please remember the above land acknowledgement in the weeks and months to come as this subject comes up to council. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker on our list is Craig Spiesel.
Good evening. Before I start, I want to just also express my gratitude to Councilman Barksdale for your leadership and working with the community in such years. So thank you. My name is Craig Spiesel, and I'm speaking tonight on behalf of several business leaders and residents of Bellevue to highlight 3 issues. These include staff's community engagement efforts, number 2, issues pertaining to attending meetings remote, and 3, policies of making oral comments. We believe the following 10 recommendations will enhance communities, the commission's, and the council's ability to better make informed decisions. Having complete and unbiased information and ability to hear all stakeholders will provide a more comprehensive understanding of the key issues. Earlier this afternoon, I sent to you a detailed document with background and references to each of the 10 I will mention. Number 1 is create an independent review of all outreach strategies and research. We are proposing creating a review process, including a member from the city manager's office to serve as an ombudsman, working in conjunction with community representatives appointed by council. Their role would be to serve in a consultative role with the authority to approve or revise such engagement plans. This would actually streamline the development of the different departments in the city's efforts to create engagement plans while optimizing and leveraging best practices and data comparability. Number 2, these plans should require the engagement of neighborhood associations as key stakeholders. Number 3, these plans should disclose the pros and cons of the proposals and articulate the trade-offs of their plan that would be created and how it would remediate community concerns. Number 4 would be disclose community metrics, where staff would offer equal outreach, meeting time, and material to support all constituencies, independent if they support or oppose the proposals. Provide ample time for feedback. One size does not fit all. The public comment period should correlate to the complexity of the amount of the information presented. Develop uniform oral comment policies across commissions and the council. Today is very random, and those speaking remote should not be marginalized. Number 7 is prioritize oral comments from Bellevue stakeholders. All too often, oral comments are dominated by outside advocacy and special interest groups. Number 8 is engage oral comments from the comment speakers from the dais. Council members should be encouraged to comment and follow up. Number 9 is require video conference or recording from all commissions, council, and other public meetings, including neighborhood services. And number 10, post recordings of all meetings within 48 to 72 hours. Recently, it took 20 days for the Transportation Department to post, commission to posters. I'd be happy to address any comments that you have. And again, I should note that these comments reflect comments I made on July 24th. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next speaker on our list is Phyllis White.
Hi, good evening, Mayor Robinson, Deputy Mayor Neuenhuis, and City Council members. My name is Phyllis White, and I am a Bellevue resident, and I deeply care about the future of Bellevue and the well-being of our community, and my neighbors also deeply care about our city. Like a lot of residents I know, I have been engaged in the comprehensive plan process as well as in Bike Bellevue, which would greatly impact my neighborhood. I'm very concerned about the public engagement process for Bike Bellevue since I recently found out through public records requests that the project manager for Bike Bellevue has selectively provided resources and unique access to special interest groups that support the plan while avoiding accurate, good faith communication with neighborhood leaders, stakeholders, and constituents. As a result, I signed on to a letter from residents that was submitted a couple of weeks ago. And I also filed an ethics complaint this morning, which you should have received. I very much support having a safe and connected multimodal transportation network that provides mobility for everyone. And I understand the importance of Bellevue's residents and employees who would like to and need to bicycle having input in the plan. The problem lies largely in the fact that bicycling interest groups, including those with members outside of Bellevue, have been engaged in ways that residents, especially those like us with concerns, have not. Much of this engagement has been covert and inappropriate, as the emails referenced in the ethics complaint show. The outreach that has been conducted to residents have been incomplete, complicated, and misleading, indicating Bike Bellevue will simply add bike lanes to existing streets without being upfront that the city plans to eliminate and replace travel lanes with bike lanes, even as our city plans for significant growth. And this includes areas that have not yet been fully developed. The ethics complaint you received today shows multiple instances where Bike Bellevue project managers' actions have intentionally undermined what should be a fair and inclusive public engagement process. I hope that you, as a council, will consider the information and recommendations in the complaint and trust that you'll find a path forward that is in line with the city's stated values and principles. I look forward to a better engagement process where we can spend more time discussing these projects with all information and trade-offs clearly explained, and ultimately alternatives and solutions that provide
Ms. White?
an equitable outcome.
Ms. White? Your
Thank
time
you
has-
very much.
Thank you. The next speaker on our list is Diana Lynn.
Mayor and all the council members. My name is Diana Lin, living at 16,000 Northeast 8th Street in Bellevue. I'm here today to ask the city to take necessary measure to secure our city park security for the protection of citizens' safety. I moved from Boston 2 years ago to care for my parents in Bellevue. Crossroad Park is my backyard, and I walk there every night, usually after 8 p.m., after they went to sleep. It is a very popular recreational facility for families with children. I really appreciate Bellevue's wonderful park facilities and have fully enjoyed them. But unfortunately, the safety in the park has become an issue. I was robbed twice in the park for past few months. April 6th, I was held at a knife point near the amphitheater and was lucky to run away to the fire station. Police responded with a search but was unable to contain the suspect. After this incident, I have to try to change my walking time to daytime, which is quite inconvenient because I work on East Coast schedule. November 20th, while walking by the parking lot, I was stopped by a car with a couple, their baby, and mother. They sweet-talked to me and pretended to give me gifts, putting jewelry on me, ring, bracelet, and a necklace. While I was distracted, they swapped my gold chain, which was given by my grandmother. I wore it for more than 40 years. So I feel very stupid, but I think they are very evil. I filed police report, but understand the chances to recover my things are very slim. My question, but both incidents, I think, could be possibly avoided if there is a criminal, these criminals knew they were monitored. So my question to the city is, why such a highly used park, Crossroad Park, right, does not even have any security camera as a crime monitor measure, right? If this case, we have cameras, we would capture the car plate or, the suspect, right? So to me, it is a very inexpensive tool to impose a highly effective prevention of crime in an area lots of children are also present. So if it happened to me twice in few months, I believe there are more victims. Okay, so I would like to have an opportunity to advocate for the city to take some preventions. All right, thank you.
City Clerk, I'm going to ask that staff respond to council on this. Is that what you're going to say, City Manager?
Actually, I was going to ask Ms. Lynn if she could leave her contact information so that we can reach out to her.
but I think council would like to hear as well. Thank you.
Thank you. The final speaker on our list this evening is Alex Zimmerman.
Sie Heil, my dirty, damn Nazi fascist junta. My name Alex Zimmerman, I am president of Stand Up America. I want to speak about something what absolutely critical and very important. Last election is official statistic. Most worst election for 100 years.
Mr. Zimmerman, I'm going to ask you to restrict your commentary to something that has to do with the Bellevue City Council. And
Exactly, it's exactly what as I doing for 30 years. So situation right now very simple because you not elect by people, you 90%, you not support you. It's exactly about you. It's about government, what is we have in Bellevue.
we don't talk about elections here, Mr. Zimmerman.
It's not about
know that.
election. It's about support you or not support you. Stop interrupt me. You're not ashamed doing this. I'm talking about you because people, 90% who not support you. Where is this word election? When 90%
This has nothing to
people
do
not
with the
support
council.
you.
This
No,
is not council
90%
business.
people
I'm
not
gonna ask
support
you to leave.
You as a junta. You
All right.
understand about this? You not represent 90% people. You not legal. You absolutely not legal. No, my time not expire. I don't move. No, because it's not
Mr.
legal.
Zimmerman,
No, it's not
you
legal.
need to leave.
Your
Thank
rule,
you.
you not legally represent here. It's
You are
government.
not
What?
speaking
Don't touch
to
me.
the council
Don't touch me.
prerogative here, so
Don't
out
touch.
you
You
go.
cannot do in this. I have my 3 minutes.
Escort? Yeah, let's go.
No, I don't want. Don't touch me.
Let's go.
No, I don't move.
Yeah, why don't we
have
take
3
a,
minutes. It's not
council's
legal.
going
She
to take a
cannot
break
do
till
this. It is
7.
police force.
Okay, we are back in session. Going to ask everybody who's talking to either stop or go outside and talk. And if we can shut one of those back doors, that would be great. I am sorry, I apologize for taking a break in the middle of public comment. But we are back, and we have time for one more speaker who is signed up. And so please go ahead.
Called Overlake. If you commit a crime in Redmond, like you flash mob your local grocery store, you steal my 20th bike out of the apartment garage at Estero Park, if you walk across the street into Bellevue, you're exempted from the cops pursuing you and Bellevue refusing to even acknowledge that there's a crime because it didn't occur in Bellevue. And like the guy will go over to Bellevue and sell his stuff to a drug pusher, but they haven't committed a crime. Anyway, that's not the only point. The problem is like there's 3 government agency leases at the Crossroads Mall, and one of them is the police station in the back. And there's all these sometimes totally, excuse my French, like shit-faced drunk individuals and predators and sex harassers, customs violators all throughout the park. And there's nobody there if you ain't got a phone, except you take matters into your own hand. And sometimes there's sex harassing these like young, like foreign-born teenage girls around the bus stops at Crossroads on 156. And sometimes it's concerning because like the cops are not around, but the government's paying a real estate lease to prop up the bank and some commercial real estate. So the other problem is the library at the Crossroads Mall is too small, and the abusive union at the library has cordoned off the most like private, personal, qualitative space in that whole little flawed, obsolete real estate venture that they're ripping off the people. And it's right next to the food court, which is really loud. And they have an empty space right next door that the commercial real estate should just accommodatingly allow for more space. But I don't know, there's other issues that have to do with like, you know, a 21st century first world quality redevelopment without, you know, accommodating the laziness of the modern wheel, negatively impacting the need for more robust floor space and floor plans, you know? and like better quality of homes. It's like where I live, it's like a parking garage structure that's cosmetically prettified like a residential unit. But since it's got all this like marketed, like trade chic, like perceptions of value and like amenities that are all flawed, because you can hear like the parking garage and all these other door slams, they overcharge people, and there's no like regulatory oversight on the housing out here. It's just like, let's just rip off the tech workers, and hopefully they won't make a complaint about how deregulated and modern third world the quality has become. But the problem is you have like all these like drug pushers who are exempted from jail because the police reform is copycatting the unconstitutional, treasonous, bottom of the barrel progressive policies of exempting crack, meth, heroin, and fentanyl from jail if it's less than 3.5 grams. And they keep manipulating the statistics at the expense of public safety. And if you trespass a junkie thief and question him to find out where he gets it, you can shut down the drug pushers and help improve society. Thank you.
That is the end of oral communications. Mayor, I'll turn it back to you.
Okay, thank you very much. So next up, we have reports of boards and commissions. City Manager, would you like to speak to that?
Thank you, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and Council. We have a report this evening from the Arts Commission regarding recommended funding allocations for the 2024 Arts Project grants. Staff is requesting council action to approve the Art Commission's recommended funding allocations. And joining for the presentation, Judy Gowdy, the Chair of the Arts Commission, Lori Hoffman, Arts Manager, Manette Stam, the Arts Program Analyst, both from the Community Development Department. And with that, I will turn it over to Lori.
Thank you, City Manager. Tonight, the city, to give you some context, the city has been funding art grants since the early 2000s. And we do this to ensure that residents can experience innovative art and diverse cultural traditions here in their community. And beyond that, the Art Department and the Art Commission are within community development and cultural and economic development. So we're also going to tell you some of our economic impacts in the arts today as well. With that, I'll hand it over to Manette.
Am I advancing these? This one.
Funny. We're having some technical difficulty with that.
Okay.
You could hold for 1 second.
Hold for a second.
Awesome. All right, well, the reason we're here tonight is seeking a motion from council to approve the 2024 project grant allocations made by the Allocations Committee and approved by the Arts Commission. I'm going to hand this presentation over to the Chair of our Arts Commission, Judy Gowdy.
And first, we're going to briefly cover the Arts Commission grant-making process. Then we will present the allocations made for next year by the Allocations Committee and approved by the Arts Commission. And then we will include a deep dive into 2 applicants, and we'll end with a presentation with the anticipated public benefits and economic impact. The Arts Commission offers 2 arts granting programs. The one we will discuss tonight is project grants, which are on a yearly cycle. We also offer Eastside Arts Partnership Grants, EAP for short, and these are on a 2-year cycle and will come back for the council's approval next year when that cycle starts over. Applications are reviewed for artistic innovation, public access and benefit, and project feasibility by an allocations committee. They are then presented to the Arts Commission for approval. For 2024, the Arts Commission received 36 project grant applications, totaling over $119,000 in funding requests. a 66% increase over the 2023 requests. Allocations will cover only 50% of the requested amounts. The Allocations Committee,
Judy, I'm going to stop you for just 1 second.
Sure.
We need to get the slideshow caught up, so let's wait till they can do that.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
thanks.
If you go to display settings and change it to duplicate slides, you'll get what you're trying to do.
There we go.
There we are.
Thank you.
Okay,
And you can.
that was the first. All right. The Allocations Committee has chosen, of the 36 applications, has chosen 22 of those to receive grants. They were scored on specific criteria for each type of grant. The committee met in November to discuss the scores and allocate awards. The committee has chosen to add 5 Bell Red bonus grants for activities that will occur within the Bell Red Arts District. The recommended amounts and criteria for evaluation can be found in the packet before you. The Arts Commission has approved these recommendations. As an example, Art Ma Pop-Up was chosen to show you. They are a recipient of the Bell Red bonus grant. And this year, Art Ma successfully produced 3 events in Bellevue: a pop-up at Marketplace Victoria, showcasing local artists and workshops, an exhibit at Ron Yanru Art Gallery, and Everywhere Art Month in the Bell Red Arts District. The Bell Red Arts District hosted many pop-up art exhibits in businesses and organizations around Bell Red. For Artma's next exhibition, they propose an immersive, captivating sensory experience, harnessing the power of lights, motors, and cutting-edge technical equipment. This exhibit will breathe life into art, blurring the lines between the tangible and the digital. As a second example, Danilo Sicara is proposing an original screen adaptation of the book Naive Super by Erland Lowe at Theater 33, a new black box theater in the Bell Red Arts District. Danilo Sicara arrived in Bellevue from Ukraine in June of 2022 and has been an avid performer for all his life. The novel is about a 30-year-old man who on his birthday finds himself backed into a wall, unable to understand his purpose in life. He quits work and decides to rediscover the point of his existence, ultimately coming to a positive resolution. So, Lori.
So one of the reasons why we do these art grants is because of the broad economic benefits that the arts and culture sector brings to our community. So on this slide, we'll talk a bit about those broad economic impacts, and then on the next one, we'll talk more specifically about this program. So arts and culture nonprofits in Bellevue generate around $54 million in economic activity in our community each year. We just completed a very large study called Arts and Economic Prosperity that spent a year collecting data in our community at events. We have an amazing intern who came to cultural events, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them a week for a year, collecting in-person data with our audiences. She found that arts and culture supports around 600 jobs in Bellevue, and that attendees at arts events spend around $49 in the community beyond the price of their ticket. It's a really marked number because it is around $10 above the national average. And that's the average for all attendees. Attendees that came from outside of the county spent over $100 per person per event in our community, which all of that just leads to incredible downstream effects in our economy. All right, a minute.
Thank you, Lori. In 2024, we anticipate both our EAP and project grants to have huge impacts on the city of Bellevue. The public benefits that we anticipate include serving over 1 million residents and visitors through both in-person events, performances, cultural festivals, and arts education. City support will ensure over 500,000 people have access to these opportunities through free or reduced admissions. Overall, grantees will offer programs designated to increase access for people of diverse backgrounds and historically underrepresented groups. So tonight, the direction we seek from council is a motion to approve these project grant allocations made by the Allocations Committee and approved by the Arts Commission.
Wonderful, thank you very much. I'm going to start with a motion, Deputy Mayor.
Certainly, Mayor. I move to approve the Arts Commission's recommendations for 2024 project grant allocations and direct staff to proceed with implementation.
Second.
Councilmember Stokes is the liaison to the Arts Commission. Why don't you weigh in with your thoughts?
Okay, thank you very much. What you're seeing here is a real, I think, moving forward with the Arts Commission in Bellevue on getting arts out and spreading it around, and not only making inroads in the community in arts and enjoying arts, but also people having a good time coming here and being in Bellevue and going to events and along the way putting money into the economy. So it's a very fascinating thing that's, and it's, you know, we started looking at that a couple of years ago more directly, and it really helps us then in terms of one of the reasons people ask, well, why do you do all these arts? Well, one of the reasons is we want people to enjoy this, and it's something that at least pays for itself, but it actually is something very positive for the community. I mean, that's just one facet of it, and I don't want to concentrate too much on that, because the real thing we're contributing on is the action in the arts itself. And we're getting more and more and better reports from people about the arts, about what they've experienced, and we're putting it out there further. Having a Bellevue Red Arts District is going to increase that a great bit. And Judy and the commission have been doing a tremendous job with staff. I mean, staff and the commission, you can't beat that combination. I mean, it's really been fascinating. So I'm very pleased to approve this and look forward to our working on this for the future. But again, congratulations. And the Arts Commission members are a very diverse group. They do a great job, and I think can really make Bellevue proud in arts, and we're on a very good trajectory. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Stokes. I don't feel a need to say anything beyond that. I am in full agreement with Councilmember Stokes and appreciate all that you do. Go ahead, Councilmember Zahn.
Yes, thank you. Well, I want to thank the Allocation Committee for your hard work on this. When I was looking at the brief descriptions, it seems like all of them are worthy of the grants. And so my hope is that as we look at our budget in future years, how we actually can fund more of these projects or find additional partners so that more of these projects can be funded. So I will follow up with staff separately. I did want to understand a bit more about, for those that didn't get any funding, where did they fall short, and what could they do to be competitive in the future? Because they all sound fascinating and equally worthy. I really appreciate the Bell Red focus, especially as Councilmember Stokes said, with the Bell Red Arts District, how we lift up more and more of that culture, community connection, and economic impact too. I think those are important. I appreciated seeing that there are free and reduced admissions, so that we're really trying to make sure we create access for everybody. I like that. I am curious about whether we have Bellhop that is in downtown Bellevue. It goes to Spring District and the Botanical Garden. So as we have more of these kinds of activities, will Bellhop also be geofenced to get to these other places as well? Because it seems to me, if we're talking about economic impact, then it seems like the tourism promotion area funding of Bellhop should be included as part of the access for people getting to these events. So.
I can speak a bit to that. We had a really successful pilot of using Bellhop as an event shuttle during our Old Main Wine Walk during September. And I think that that is something that they're going to start wrapping into the service more and more as we look to evaluate the bellhop program at the end of the pilot. I think one of the things we will be evaluating what is the eventual service area and how do we expand that. So
That would be great, because it seems like, if we're trying to promote these from economic impact, that it fits right into the TPA usage. So thank you. I'm excited about this and going to some of these. Thanks.
I think the council can all agree with that. Thank you. Councilmember Lee.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, we have something right, keep saying it. We said that Bellevue welcomes the world. Diversity is our strength. And what we are doing here is really bring people together. And we are recognizing, bring people of all background diversities, as we see in the pictures. It's through arts you bring people together. That's a unified message, unified media. So I think it's a very good way, especially if it's positive economic development. We pay for it. Why not? And we can actually do more. So I think this is a great program, great idea, and you're doing the right things, aiming at the right audience, and bring the right people together. So I support it.
Great. Yes, Councilmember Barksdale.
Thank you. Also excited about these events, especially as someone who really loves nightlife, as Deputy Mayor mentioned earlier. I was going to say, I think it's a really good balance, right, that you're striking. You could obviously lean in the direction of providing a large sum of money to larger organizations or a lot of very small amounts to, a lot of organizations. I think you struck the right balance. Yeah, hit the right balance. And I appreciate that because in addition to the diversity in terms of access, it also provides the diversity in terms of programming throughout the community and allows more of that opportunity. So really appreciate your thoughtfulness in it.
And Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, thank you for the presentation. There's hardly a day goes by when someone doesn't say, Jared, why aren't there more performing arts in Bellevue? Why aren't there more exhibits? People really want to engage with art right here in our city, and I'm so glad that you included in this presentation this evening the economic impact. I mean, I think it speaks for itself. Maybe I would say my challenge to my colleagues, except for those that are stepping down, that we look for some additional funds during the next budget cycle to increase the budget for these project grants and be able to spread the dollars across these deserving organizations that want to bring something that our residents want and has a positive economic impact to our city. So I look forward to future reports and supporting this in the future. And again, really appreciate the presentation tonight. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion and it's been seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, thank you so much. Next up, we have two items in the report of the city manager. So, Ms. Carlson.
Thank you,
Go ahead.
Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and Council. The first item is that I am seeking council concurrence for 3 reappointments to the Bellevue Convention Center Authority. The members to be reappointed are Rick Carlson, Uzma Siddiqui, and Lori Tisch. They're all existing members seeking another term. And with the council's concurrence, these board members will be officially reappointed and serve their term through January 1st, 2027.
I think Deputy Mayor, you're the liaison to that, am I
I
correct?
am indeed, and
So,
I wholly agree with the recommendation, so.
Okay, why don't you make a motion?
Well, I think we're just looking for a head nod tonight, aren't you?
Oh, that's true.
Okay.
Just a head nod would
All
be
right.
fine.
Any other comments or questions? No? Okay, everybody give a head nod. All right, what's the next thing?
Thank you. The second report is a good news item. Many council members were here last week at the Bellevue Essentials graduation. And tonight, we're joined by Julie Ellenhorn, Bellevue Essentials Program Manager, to provide a council summary and brief review of the Essentials program this year. And Julie is joined by 2 of the recent graduates, Anthony Mackay and Carmen Alma Jose. And with that, I will hand it over to Julie.
Thank you. So good evening, Mayor Robinson, Deputy Mayor Neuenhouse, and council members. Each year, I get the honor to come speak to you about Bellevue Essentials, which, as you know, is our city's civic engagement program, now in its 11th year. So tonight, I'm here to share some highlights of the 2023 class, which had 33 graduates. And first, I want to just thank our city council for your ongoing dedication to this program, and especially want to recognize the years of support from Councilmember Barksdale and Councilmember Robertson, who's not here tonight. As they move off the council, we will miss both of them. I'm also very grateful to the dozens of city staff who make this program possible each year. So tonight, we are just here to provide you some information. No action or direction is needed. I want to just tell you a little bit about the group you see up in the slide. This is the class of 2023. And as you know, we receive about twice as many applications as we can accept each year. And each class is selected by a group of alumni, and they did a really great job. This cohort was varied in age. They came from all over the world, and they came from all of our neighborhoods in Bellevue. They were brilliant, diverse, inquisitive, funny, and kind. You'll get to hear from a couple of them tonight. So each week they came together to learn about government process, operations, decision-making, and to become comfortable interacting with city staff and leadership. They learned, they explored, they questioned, they even did their homework every week, and they now become a part of our engaged network of knowledgeable individuals here to serve the city and the broader community and remain active over time. And I think I'm going to go a little off script here and just ask all of the Bellevue Essentials alumni in the room to raise their hands tonight because there are so many. It's kind of amazing. I was looking around the room and I did not invite all those people here tonight. So they truly do become ambassadors for our city that really make a difference. So in addition to presentations from many city departments, financial support from Amazon this year made it possible for the class to enjoy some extra things. We were able to do 2 bus tours, one highlighting neighborhood character and a full day exploring city parks, which is what you're looking at here. Here you see their exploration of Lewis Creek Park with Ranger Curtis, which is always a treat for everyone. We did a series of popular walking tours. Those enhanced the curriculum, included a tour of the Wilburton commercial area, Bell Red, City Hall Art, and the Anne Frank exhibit. So we asked the class just to throw out some thoughts of what did they think about Bellevue Essentials, what did they love, and I think the word cloud kind of speaks for itself, but we heard things like active, engaging, informative, thought-provoking, inspirational, and they were just a great group. So with the addition of our 2023 graduates, we now have 374 alumni. Dozens are serving in their neighborhoods and with various community organizations. We now have over 70 individuals that have served as board and commission members over the past 11 years, 36 who are currently serving. We have now 2 council members, Deputy Mayor Neuenhaus and Mo Malakushin, who was elected in our upcoming council that will start in January. And we actually have a 3rd council member elected in Kirkland. One of our alumni, John Tismanson, he moved to Kirkland after he took the class and is now serving on their council. So even when our graduates relocate, we hope they take with them what they learned and they get engaged wherever they are. We've also been instrumental in starting civic engagement programs in other cities. We've helped launch programs in many places, both in the Puget Sound area and outside of the state. Really the best people to tell you about this program and what it does for our graduates are our graduates themselves. So I'm going to turn it over to Carmen, Elma Jose, and Anthony Mackay and let them tell you a little bit about their experience. So we'll start with Carmen.
Great, thank you. Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here on behalf of my Bellevue Essentials classmates. Thank you for your ongoing support of the program and also for your presence at our classes. We enjoyed hearing each of you talk about what led you to civic engagement and about your vision for community involvement. And thank you for this opportunity to share my thoughts about why Bellevue Essentials matters. A little background. My family moved to Newport Hills when I was 6 months old. I've lived in the neighborhood most of my life, and I hope to live there for a very long time to come. I read about Bellevue Essentials in the city's newsletters and heard about it from past participants who are active in the community. The program sounded interesting, but I wasn't sure about applying. Then this summer, the city held a neighborhood walk in Newport Hills, which a few of you attended. Thank you. The walk was a great opportunity to interact with city representatives who listened to residents speak about our interests and concerns, and made me want to learn more about the city, its services, and the people who work here. I went home and submitted my application that night. When I was accepted into Bellevue Essentials, I had feelings of anticipation and intimidation. But my feelings settled at the first session. My classmates were friendly, curious, and lively. They represented the great diversity of the city. They were old-timers and newcomers. They brought local perspectives and worldviews. All were eager to learn, to build connections, and to get involved. Mayor Robinson, you welcomed us at the first session, and you surprised us when you addressed each person individually and asked us our thoughts about the city. It was meaningful and engaging, and it helped set the tone for the whole program. That session and every session was eye-opening and thought-provoking and jam-packed. We learned about the challenges of prioritizing the city's needs and desires. We were exposed to the complexities of running a city that's experiencing rapid growth and rapid change. We got to know the city better, and the city got to know the community better. As you know, Bellevue Essentials was developed with the mission of increasing civic engagement. Bellevue Essentials has fulfilled this mission. It educates participants, points us in the right direction, and leads us to opportunities to transform the city and to transform ourselves. Bellevue Essentials also fulfills the vision of the City Council. It welcomes the world, it's strengthened by diversity, and it addresses the future while respecting the past. As the city changes and grows, it's likely that there will be an even greater need to utilize the talents and skills and energy of its people. Every Bellevue Essentials participant is eager to both use the skills and knowledge that they acquired and to share them with just about anyone who will listen. The reach and benefit of Bellevue Essentials goes far beyond the classroom and into the broader community. Our Bellevue Essentials class included 6 people from my neighborhood, Newport Hills. One is a junior at Newport High School, my alma mater, and was chosen by our class to speak at our graduation last week. One currently serves on the city's Environmental Services Commission, and one is a longtime volunteer at Bellevue Botanical Garden, where she's in the dirt every week and is a greeter at Garden Delights. Our group of 6 has already arranged to get together next month to talk about how we can better serve our community. We lived near each other, but we didn't know each other. Now we're connected as neighbors, friends, and collaborators. When Bellevue Essentials began 11 years ago, it set a goal of encouraging civic participation. Today, its graduates are actively engaged in the community at every level, including serving on the city's boards and commissions and on the city council itself. Bellevue Essentials achieved its goals then, and it achieves its goals still. Bellevue Essentials mattered then and matters still. Thank you.
Thanks, Carmen. Anthony?
Carmen, thanks for everything you shared. Carmen is absolutely right. Bellevue Essentials is pivotal. It has quite literally changed my life. Hello, Mayor Robinson, Deputy Mayor Newenhouse, Council Members Barksdale, Lee, Stokes, Zahn, and Acting City Manager Carlson. It's an honour and a privilege to be here tonight as one of your most recent graduates of the city's laudable Bellevue Essentials program. My name is Anthony Mackay. I'm a comparatively new resident to the city, and thanks in no small part to Bellevue Essentials, I absolutely love it here. My journey to Bellevue started in New Zealand many years ago. I was born on Stewart Island, which is New Zealand's smallest of its 3 main islands. Although the island's comparable in size to Kitsap County, when I was a child, there was only around about 400 people living on it. My parents and siblings instilled in me a strong desire to participate in my community, from fundraising to charitable events, and that passion for community involvement followed me through my first career as an elementary school teacher in New Zealand, then to Seoul in South Korea, and on to London in England, where I met my husband, whose work brought us here. I tell you all of this because I want you to believe me when I heap praise on Bellevue and its City Council. I'm delighted to say that thanks to your stewardship, this is the most forward-thinking, safest, most tolerant city I've ever had the fortune to live in. I genuinely believe that the City of Bellevue lives its mission each and every day, and this was clearly exhibited in Bellevue Essentials. I arrived in Bellevue near the end of 2022, and in some ways it felt like quite a challenging transition to leave my family, my friends, and my professional life behind. It was while I was awake at 2 a.m, thanks to a hefty transatlantic jet lag, that I saw a late night repeat of the December City Council meeting on Bellevue TV's Channel 21. This was the announcement of Bellevue Essentials' 10-year anniversary. I was so impressed by how Julie, Angela, and Abigail all spoke and so eloquently about their experiences with the program and how their involvement had improved their lives. I immediately knew I needed to learn more. I reached out to Julie and asked if I could meet her to learn more about the program. And Julie, like so many of the staff that are incredibly talented and knowledgeable at the City of Bellevue that you've managed to employ here, she freely gave of her time and shared her extensive knowledge and experience with me. I felt welcomed, safe, and supported, and I desperately wanted to be a part of that. In fact, my most nervous time was waiting to hear if I'd been selected to join the course. I'm sure you already appreciate how inspirational Bellevue Essentials is. I just hope that we can spread the word to other residents. As Carmen's already mentioned, it brings people from diverse backgrounds together for a common purpose: civic engagement. Through this remarkable 11-week course, I've met, and I'm fortunate to represent here tonight, residents of every neighbourhood in Bellevue. Initially, I was driven to join the program so I could give back to the community. Little did I know that becoming involved would enable me to make so many new friends as well. Bellevue is filled with wonderful people who open their hearts to others. This course, including the wonderful neighbourhood tour that Mark led, has confirmed to me that I want to make Bellevue my home. I want to retire here eventually. Bellevue Essentials, under Julie and Mark's leadership, has enabled our diverse cohort from all walks of life to share themselves and their perspectives and learn about how they can become involved in this wonderful city. Thanks to Bellevue Essentials, every week my impressive, inspirational classmates and I were lucky enough to be exposed to the heart of Bellevue. The teams in each of your departments are incredibly knowledgeable, passionate about their jobs and the communities they serve, and motivated to help the city grow to meet the needs of its expanding workforce and its resident population. What will my life look like after Bellevue Essentials? It's really hard to say. I want to do it all. I know I'm not alone in saying this. My fellow participants and I didn't want this to end. Every week it was more, more, more. I'm sure we'll become more involved in the city and its boards and commissions. Thanks to Bellevue Essentials, we're now connected with each other and with our city, and that connection makes us stronger together. We want to encourage the city to continue funding the program so that many more residents will be able to experience the city in a similar way. And finally, I'd like to say thank you to each and every one of you. I learned a great deal about the city and its governance, so I now appreciate that each of you work tirelessly for the betterment of the city, its residents now and in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for having us here tonight. Happy to answer any questions.
Can we give you a hand? That's excellent. This was under the city manager's report, so we're not going to have a discussion, but we certainly thank you very much. Next up, we have the consent calendar. Is there a motion to approve?
I move to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we have a public hearing tonight. City manager, would you like to introduce that?
Thank you, Mayor. We do have a public hearing tonight on a proposed water easement release. After a very brief presentation, staff will turn it back to the council to open up the public hearing. And then following the hearing, staff will seek council action on the resolution authorizing execution of the release documents. And tonight, we have Lauren Matlick, Real Property Manager from the Finance and Asset Management Department here, and he will be making the presentation.
Council members. Our staff report this evening is on a request to release a water easement located at 15600 Northeast 8th Street. On October 23rd, council declared these easements a surplus to the city's needs and set today as the date for holding the public hearing. The purpose of tonight's hearing is to allow the public an opportunity to comment on this release. A portion of the Crossroads Mall parking area is being redeveloped as an approximately 326,000 square foot apartment building with 224 units, of which 20% or 45 units will be affordable through the multifamily tax exemption program at 80% area median income. The development will also include 14,460 square feet of retail space. Highly served transit stops are located adjacent to the site along 156th Avenue Northeast. The existing utility facilities within the easement shown pink will be removed by the developer so that these portions of the easement will no longer be needed. New water service will be provided from facilities as shown in blue, and a new easement acquired from the property owner at no cost to the city. Following the public hearing, staff requests council action on the proposed resolution authorizing the release of the entirety of one water line easement and a portion of a second. This ends our staff report. We will be available to answer any questions following the public hearing.
Okay, thank you. So let's go ahead and we'll start the public hearing, and then we have, if there's any comments or questions, we can do that then. So is there a motion to open the public hearing?
I move to open the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? City Clerk, do we have anyone signed up to speak?
Thank you, Mayor. No, there are no pre-registered speakers. And I will also note that the council did not receive any written comments on this particular item. So at this point, I would ask if there is anyone who would like to make comment to the council on this particular public hearing, please raise your hand. And I do not see any hands online or in person. I'll turn it back to you, Mayor.
Is there a motion to close the public
I
hearing?
move to close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, are there any comments or questions? Seems pretty straightforward to me. Okay, would you like to make a motion? Deputy
Certainly, Mayor. I move to adopt Resolution 10327, authorizing the execution of documents necessary to release one existing waterline easement and a portion of a second waterline easement located at 15600 Northeast 8th Street, which have been declared surplus to the city's needs and are no longer required for providing continued water service.
Second.
Is this coming to consent? Will this be on consent?
This came on consent previously.
Pardon?
It came on consent previously.
This will be
okay.
adopted tonight.
Oh, tonight, okay, it's not coming, all right, sorry. I was thinking about the
That's
next
okay.
thing.
Yeah.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? We did have that seconded, right, the motion?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
very good. All right, thank you. I just made something very simple more confusing. Okay, so we have two study session items tonight. City Manager, would you like to introduce the first one?
Thank you, Mayor.
Oh, it's this.
The first item is a presentation on the background options and a Parks and Community Services Board recommendation for naming a new park in the Bridle Trails neighborhood. Staff is here tonight to seek council's direction to return in an upcoming meeting soon with a resolution adopting a name for the new park. And joining at the table, we have Pam Furman, Planning Manager from Parks and Community Services Department, as well as Paul Clark, Chair of the Parks and Community Services Board. And with that, I will turn it over to Pam.
Thank you. And thank you, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and council members. Tonight, we're here seeking council's preferred name for the new park in Bridle Trails neighborhood and direction to return with a resolution adopting that name. Can I make that work? Yes. This evening, we'll share a brief review of this newest park in the Bridle Trails neighborhood, including the planning and naming process, the city parks naming policy, share outreach and community name preferences, as well as the Parks and Community Services Board's name recommendation to support the council's deliberations tonight. Working with the support of the community, this new park property was acquired in 2014. Work with the Bridle Trails Neighborhood and Community Club resulted in a Parks and Community Services Board recommended and council preferred plan in 2016. Funded for development in 2019 with design and permitting complete, construction began just this last May. And construction is anticipated to be complete by the end of the year. And we look forward to celebrating the grand opening when weather allows later this spring. The new 1.5 acre park shown in the red dashed line on the slide before you is located along 140th Avenue Northeast, just south of the Bellevue Municipal Golf Course. This new neighborhood park, will provide park and open space to this underserved area of Bellevue where there is currently no park within at least a mile. The eastern edge of the park property abuts a 6 to 7 acre city-owned utility site, which is protected wetland. The park design works to protect and enhance the adjacent natural wetland environment and take advantage of complementary protected natural area opportunities. The community-supported, park board recommended, and council-preferred park plan includes a combination of both passive and active use elements. The park will offer visitors a variety of recreation opportunities, including play areas for a variety of ages, a picnic shelter, restroom, benches, and picnic tables, a loop trail surrounding a large maintained grass area, and a 12-stall parking lot. The process of naming parks is guided by Council Resolution 10151. That resolution establishes policies and procedures for naming public parks and recreation facilities. Council typically selects a park name after receiving a recommendation from the park board, which is based upon public input using the policy criteria before you, a neighborhood natural or geological feature, an associated historical figure or name of cultural significance, or an individual or group that has made a significant contribution to the park system. And it also directs that diversity, equity, and inclusion priorities be considered. Park name suggestions were solicited throughout the community planning process and began in 2015 and continued through design, permitting, and ongoing construction this last fall. Outreach efforts included community meetings, mailings, and regular ongoing project website updates and surveys. Staff also worked with the Bridle Trails Community Club to update and alert their membership, attend their meetings, including the Bridle Trails Night Out events in 2019, and when they resumed just this past summer in 2023. All park name suggestions were considered and evaluated for conformance with the City Council adopted park naming policy. Ultimately, 5 community suggested park names that met the naming policy criteria were nominated. At the request of Bridle Trails Community Club, the Bridle Trails Neighborhood Identifier was added as a modification to the 2 most preferred name options. As a final step, the combined 7 park name options were included in a survey for community feedback. Those names that are before you are Valley Creek Park, Bridle Trails Valley Creek Park, Birdsong Park, Bridle Trails Birdsong Park, Bridle Trails Playground Park, East Bridle Trails Park, and Belmond Park. The final survey asked respondents to identify their top 3 name choices in order of preference. The survey made clear that a popular voting exercise would not be the basis of a name selection. However, both the Parks and Community Services Board and the City Council would like to include the community's preferences in their deliberations. The 2 names with the strongest support from the final survey were Valley Creek for the named creek running through the adjacent 7-acre Bellevue utility managed wetland, and Birdsong Park, a nod to the many varieties of birds and other wildlife seen and heard on the site. The options that added bridle trails to these 2 names were also strongly supported. The remaining 3 name options ranked significantly lower in preference to the community. And here to speak for the Parks and Community Services Chair, Paul Clark, is here to share the board's deliberations and recommended name for this new park.
Thank you. The board deliberations were fairly straightforward in this case. There was a lot of alignment. At our October meeting was when we discussed this. During public comment, a number of the folks that you saw from Bridle Trails Community Club were in attendance to express their preferences, as you've heard. And we were able, as a board, to unanimously come to an agreement on the name Bridle Trails Valley Creek Park. There was some discussion back and forth, but we were all headed in generally the right direction, or the same direction, I should say, and we did concur as well with the feedback that we received from the community club that prepending Bridle Trails to the name Valley Creek was a good addition for wayfinding and to prevent individuals from ending up at the wrong end of the city if they were putting things into Google Maps or whatnot. We did formally send that recommendation on to council. We look forward to hearing what you have to say about it. And we especially look forward to opening the park up when weather allows. We'd love to express our appreciation as a board as well to the members of the Bridle Trails Community Club for coming out last October, or this October, as well as tonight, as well as our appreciation to park staff for doing such a great job with respect to outreach and getting all of the feedback that we needed to make the decision that we did.
And to conclude, the council can designate the name recommended by the Parks and Community Services Board, a community-suggested name or name not previously identified. The new park name should comply with the adopted naming policy, but based on council's direction this evening, staff will return to council with a resolution to adopt a name for the new park.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the explanation of the process you went through and for these recommendations, and then the top recommendation. Councilmember Stokes, are you the liaison to the Parks Board and Parks and Community Services?
Yes.
Let's start with you.
All right, thank you very much. As has been said, it was a very robust conversation back and forth, and it was not just, we like this name, we don't like this name. It was, we like these names. And the interesting thing about it was a very practical piece, was that people looking at maps, if they just had Valley Park, well, which valley, or that kind of thing. And Dave, you mentioned, Mr. Clark, you mentioned that. It was really helpful to have Bridle Trails Valley Park on that, and people know where to go. But it was very good conversation from the community and very supportive. It turned out well. Everybody liked it when it came down to it. We thought, it's one of those things where you look at them for a long time and talk, and then you hit on one, you think, wow, we've hit the spot, and it was it. And it was very well worked with the community, and with the staff working with the community and staff working with the Parks Board. So I'm certainly ready to vote a yes on this.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. I want to thank the Bridle Trails Community Neighborhood Association for being so involved in this process. Thank you for also coming down, letting us know your preference. Thank you to staff for the great outreach that seemed to have happened here, and soliciting the different names and then the surveys and the preferences, et cetera. Really appreciate that, and I can't wait till we can open up this park. And Paul, I want to thank you as the chair for your leadership here, and I think you're vice chair. Are you not the vice chair, Mr. Dave Hamilton? No. Oh, you are. Sorry.
Rowena Klima.
Oh, great.
In attendance, and she is the vice chair as well.
Thank you for your leadership, and everybody on the Parks Board to make this happen, and for such a great recommendation. I'm in favor of it, and we'll be voting for it. So thank you.
Councilmember Barksdale.
All right, thank you. I support the recommendation. I just had a quick question. So I understand Valley Creek Park over Birdsong Park, but with the name ID, it looks like Bridle Trails Birdsong Park actually fared better than Bridle Trails Valley Creek Park. So I was just curious how you landed on Bridle Trail with the name ID, Valley Creek Park. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does actually. Given the type of feedback that we got, the error bars on that would have been in excess of what, so we consider them a virtual tie in terms of which one was more popular with the survey results. And given that there was a clear preference cited by both formal and informal feedback to the board, that's the way we went. And we did actually view the benefit of referencing the natural geographic feature to be a real benefit as well.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, could you make a motion, please?
Certainly, Mayor. I move to direct staff to return with a resolution approving the name Bridle Trails Valley Creek Park for the new neighborhood park on 140th Avenue Northeast for council consideration at a future meeting on consent.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and then city manager, we have one more study session item. Actually, it's confusing because we have one more study session item and then we have an ordinance, but we're going to kind of combine those two, right?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So we will have a combined presentation of items 10B and 12A. 10B is the study session item with an update on code amendments supporting tree preservation, retention, replacement, and protection. And there's no action being sought on that. And then item 12A is the proposed ordinance extending the expiration of landmark tree permit requirements. And for that, staff will be requesting council action on ordinance 6767. So joining at the staff table, we have Rebecca Horner, the director, and Nick Whipple, assistant director, and Christina Gallant, senior planner, all from the Development Services Department. And with that, I'll open it up to Rebecca to give a bit of an overview.
Mayor Robinson, Deputy Mayor Neuenhaus, and members of the council. We are very excited to be here tonight to talk about trees. And to help set the stage a little before we get into the presentation, I just wanted to let you know, as mentioned, we combined the presentation to hopefully make it easier for you. So we'll be talking about two items going back to November of 2022, when council asked staff to work on tree code amendments. You asked us to work with stakeholders and the residents to think about new ways to preserve and maintain trees in the city, which is a very important resource to our city. So we are going to talk with you and give you an update on that ongoing process. The tree code amendments are in process. We have not formalized any drafts, and we're still working with stakeholders, and it was great to hear ongoing communication through oral communication and the interest that people have in this issue. So we'll give you an update on that process and give you the next steps so people interested can know how to continue to get involved in that process. And then also in 2022, council adopted an ordinance on landmark trees, which is actually set to expire at the end of this month. And since we're not completed with the tree code amendments yet, we are going to ask you for action on that one item, unlike the first part of the presentation, which is just information only on the process. So with me tonight are Nick Whipple and Christina Gallant.
Great. Thank you, Director Horner, and good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and City Council. So as noted, we are covering two topics tonight. So the purpose here is just to help us kind of guide the conversation this evening. So first, Christina will provide an update on the progress of our tree canopy amendments, code amendments. We will be headed to Planning Commission next Wednesday. So we're very excited to keep progress going on that item. And then the second portion of the meeting tonight, we will be asking council take action to extend the temporary landmark tree ordinance until the permanent code amendments are adopted. So for the first item, tree canopy code amendments, I'll pass this over to Christina to take us away.
Great, thanks, Nick. So launching first into the informational component this evening, we are heartened again to see the level of interest in this project, and so I wanted to make sure we're providing some news on where we're headed. So some recent updates to share. So we were last in front of council on June 26th with a midpoint check-in and briefing where we talked about the scope that we had developed in concert with feedback from the community earlier this spring, and got some direction to move forward. Then July 26th, we had a check-in with the Planning Commission to share what we discussed with you all in June and get some of the Planning Commission's thoughts moving into the really substantial part of this project. And so some of the priorities that the Planning Commission identified on that date were a strong interest in getting better definition for hazardous trees, strong interest as well in promoting native and climate resilient species in our regulations, a really strong focus on preventing tree removal before development. Of course, that was a strong point of discussion with council as well. At the same time, we also heard some comments about, given the direction that our canopy is taking overall, to avoid being overly restrictive and have some balance there to take caution with our definitions, that we're not swinging too far in the way of being overly restrictive to cause undue costs to our property owners. And then finally, another point of discussion we saw tonight, encouraging more consistency across neighborhoods, also acknowledging that we do have some neighborhoods that are not seeing that same canopy growth, and we want to make sure that there's equitable access to the benefits of our tree canopy. And so that's brought us into phase 2, which is really kind of the focused code development phase of this project. We have a technical consultant on board that is helping to provide guidance on those scope components that we're working on, and have been working internally with internal focus groups to talk about what these changes could look like, what we might be overlooking, and how we're implementing them, and how to make sure we have a good plan moving forward. So on to the scope itself. A lot of this will be somewhat similar to our discussion in June, but now we're getting a little bit more detailed to give a preview of what we're going to be working with the Planning Commission over the coming months. So the first major topic area are our definitions. So first, looking to update our significant tree definition, both looking at that diameter threshold and the language we're using to make sure that it's really objective. Looking to add a permanent definition for landmark trees. So that's the first place landmark trees will be coming up. And finally, adding a definition for hazardous trees. The second topic area is tree removal outside of development. So first, evaluating requiring a permit to remove any significant tree. Currently, there's a time and number threshold that applies. Evaluating expanding our replacement requirements beyond critical areas, which is generally where trees are required to be placed now. And finally, looking at evaluating imposing financial penalties for tree code violations, particularly for repeat violations. So now in the area of tree retention, this is where we're anticipating some of the more substantial proposals. So currently, our tree retention system is based on retaining a percentage of the trees that are in place when the permit comes forward. So this applies to development. And so if there aren't any trees on the property, we generally don't have the ability to require trees be added. So that's one area where you start to see those disparities in neighborhoods. It becomes more challenging to address them. So we are looking at evaluating a new system that would be based on achieving a minimum tree credit per site. And so that credit is kind of a proxy for canopy, that instead of getting a percentage, you can either remove trees down to a certain level that we believe is good for supporting canopy citywide, or you might have to add trees in order to get up to that level. So it helps to address that incentive to remove trees before development. With that as well, we're working on improved criteria for retention to encourage retaining landmark trees, thinking about encouraging the right tree in the right place, all of those factors. But as well, thinking about development types. So with accommodating middle housing, making sure that those credits are scaling with our development types, so that, for example, if you're building a single-family home, perhaps you might be held to a higher standard for canopy versus providing more units. However, that there's still going to be a baseline for canopy. We're also looking at other ways that we might perhaps look back at recent tree removals to address that issue everyone's been talking about. We also have a need to clarify the duration for retained trees in our code, codify key protections during construction, and as discussed as well, back in June, we're evaluating inspection requirements with development permits. So just to reiterate the areas that we are looking to implement permanent code for landmark trees, first is just that permanent definition. And second, establishing some permanent permit requirements. And finally, with our retention criteria and other factors, we have an opportunity to incorporate landmark trees, perhaps offer some incentives or encouragements there to retain better outcomes for landmark trees. So this has been a multi-phased project. As I touched on, we had a first phase of work that was heavily focused on outreach. Phase 2, we've kind of been going back internally, taking in technical guidance. We're working on developing code recommendations based on what we've heard so far. We are looking forward to, again, as Nick mentioned, we have our first anticipated 3 study sessions with the Planning Commission starting next week. We are looking forward to a public info session on January 11th. More information to come there. It had to be rescheduled, but we'll have that invite out soon. We are also going to be going out to the Bellevue Development Committee on January 10th to share our draft recommendations with that group as well. So following that process, we'll be moving forward with the Planning Commission review process. And our current schedule, we're anticipating, hoping coming back to council for action in the second quarter of next year. So a bit of delay, but we anticipate we'll have much better technical guidance for our recommendations. And so now we'll pivot to the action component. So tonight we are seeking action to extend temporary landmark tree ordinance by adopting Ordinance 6767. And so our current interim landmark tree ordinance, again, which was adopted June 2022, has established a definition for landmark trees as those with a diameter at breast height of 24 inches or greater and at least 20 feet tall. And so currently a clearing and grading permit is required to remove any landmark tree. And as well, at the time of that application, the applicant must provide the information on the licensed contractor that is working on that removal. And so we have some kind of thoughts on what the experience to date has been with these regulations. And so since the code was adopted, we've had around 90 permits issued for landmark tree removal. That's just outside of the development process, so not including landmark tree removal regulated through the development process. And so one of the challenges we've had is that as these were interim regulations, those permit applications are pooled with our other minor clearing and grading permit types. So for our permanent implementation, we're looking to work with our business services team to think about how our internal permitting programming can better report on tree removal, because we're kind of tracking things manually over the past few months. What we've been seeing, however, the vast majority of these permits would not have otherwise been required. These are not cases where property owners are removing more than the number of trees that would put them over that threshold. However, at the same time, currently we don't have criteria to deny a landmark tree permit. This was implemented kind of as a tracking and safety mechanism. So it's difficult to say if it's discouraging landmark tree removal, but it's a metric we can continue to watch. So on the implementation side, we did develop and implement these regulations more quickly than usual. So we did have some challenges early on to get the word out. We did have increased complaints from the community kind of seeing tree removal and being concerned. But over time, we've smoothed those out quite well. Staff's been successful in working with our landscape companies that work with us frequently and our applicants to get the word out. And things have been going much more smoothly in recent months. And generally, we've had smooth adoption for these permit requirements. On the enforcement side, we have added a specific form in the My Bellevue app where people can report landmark tree violations. So far, we've had 52 complaints to date just through that form. So complaints could come in other places. And most of these were violations. The process in that case is to require a retroactive permit. However, it does come up some of the inherent challenges we have in enforcing landmark tree removal. For example, when we get that complaint, if we come back and the stump has been ground down, it becomes a challenge to document affirmatively that that tree was in fact over 24 inches versus under 24 inches. So that's an area where if we're expanding significant tree permitting, that can help because you don't have that real gap between no permit and yes permit. So just one of the areas of complexity that we're working through. And so again, on the ordinance that's before you today, that existing ordinance will sunset December 2023. We are anticipating that we'll have the full set of canopy code amendments ready for the Planning Commission's review soon, with action anticipated in the second quarter of next year. So given that that's coming up soon, we are requesting to extend the ordinance as is through 2024, with the intent of avoiding any disruptions in this near term so we can focus on the full code amendments and getting a really solid implementation plan in place there. So with that, the action we're seeking this evening is to adopt Ordinance 6767. Thank you.
Okay, take it back one slide.
Sure.
13. And I would like to go ahead and vote on this extension on the landmark tree ordinance because it seems straightforward to me and it's something we already went through. And so I'll have a motion on that and then we can do, if anybody has a comment, we can do
Sounds
that.
good. I move to adopt ordinance 6767, amending ordinance number 6665, extending the expiration date of ordinance number 6665's permitting requirements to remove landmark trees.
Second.
Okay, any comments or questions? Can we move ahead on that? All
Can I
right.
ask you a question?
Sure.
Can I look at the map here, the picture? Which is the landmark tree would be, the tall one or the short one?
That's not intended to necessarily show
to
landmark trees.
indicate
It's just a nice neighborhood picture with some trees. Yeah.
Thank you.
She had a definition slide.
I have the definition,
Okay.
but I'm just looking at the picture. I
Okay.
don't know. The picture says 1,000 words,
Ah.
but it's not. Thank you.
Okay, all those in, council members on.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that because I had asked the city manager about the data, so it was helpful to me that you were able to provide information about the 90 permits and then also the 52 complaints, because I think that as this is extended, it will be helpful for us to understand what's going on, that as more people know about the forum and to be able to let us know if there's a neighbor that is not going through the permit process. That is a very important thing. I had a chance to visit my friends, the Jacobsons, whose house the tree fell on. And although they've moved back in, there is still remnants of that tree falling on their house. And, that's, I think about that grounding of why we put this in place with the mayor. And I think it's really important for us to keep this going while we work through that whole piece. So, thank you.
Okay, so all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, and so now I'm going to open up for conversation, questions about what you presented, including the landmark tree ordinance, because I have some thoughts on that as well. But who would like to, anybody have a comment or a question? Go ahead, Councilmember Barksdale.
Comment. So thank you in terms of, for the presentation, and also what you mentioned in terms of the credits based on number of units, I think makes a lot of sense. Because when you think about sort of the trees that would be cut down for a single unit versus even a duplex or a DADU or what have you, it would still be more, right, roughly to clear a lot for a single family unit versus a multifamily unit. So really like the way that you brought that in. Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and say something on it. I really appreciate this work. We ask that you come up with something that would help us grow our tree canopy, preserve the trees that we have, prevent clear cutting of lots, and it's taken a long time, which has been hard for everybody, but good work takes a long time. And so I appreciate the work that you've done. I would like to add financial penalties to landmark trees that are cut down inappropriately, and also that are not permitted appropriately. And I think you're already looking at that. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you end up proposing to the council, but I appreciate it, where we are right now and where we're heading, so thank you. Go ahead, Councilmember Zahn.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. You know, I was thinking about the carrot and the stick. So we've heard from some community members that in addition to having the penalties for inappropriateness, what could we consider in terms of incentivizing more people to retain their trees or really think about being creative about how you retain more trees on private property? And then I know you talked about street trees, and I think that's another piece that we could do a lot more with in the city itself, with partnering with the transportation department. I guess actually I think about it holistically, right? There may be things that we're doing related to utilities and maintenance where trees may be removed as part of that. So how would we holistically think about not just the community and how they think about trees, but also within our own municipal actions and work that we do? Are we reaching out across the department so that we are not ourselves removing trees when maybe there are other options that could be designed in a way that preserves as much as of the trees as possible? So I just feel like for this, it is probably going to take more tools within the toolbox so that as we look holistically at the nuances of trees, we did get one comment, and I've also heard from the community that sometimes there's complexities with trees because the tree roots can damage sidewalks and other things. And so there may be areas where keeping trees in this space may offer some challenges, but we could do a lot more about putting more trees in an adjacent project or more street trees. And so those are just some things I think about of how do we get more creative about that. And then lastly, I wonder if we are engaging with our youth around their thoughts around trees, because really we're preserving trees for our future generations. And so I think that our kids are very creative and smart, and so I wonder if there's more we could be doing to engage with the students. So, thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Lee.
Thank you. I really appreciate what the staffs are bringing back or considering. I think from what you have been working on, especially working with the public, you're getting some input. So you are recommending, which I agree on, this better definition, and so I think it's important. The second, I think we're also looking at tree canopy and also landmark tree. And you mentioned about some of the definition is looking at the balance of not overdoing something. And I think the purpose of landmark tree is probably has its own reason, and the tree canopy has its own purpose and goal. And so I want to be sure it's clear that one actually does what it's intended to do, and one may not necessarily. And I think we're looking at appropriateness and also effectiveness. I think maybe that's what you might want to keep in mind. And one of the things when you talk about, which I have some concern with, is so I agree with balance. That's wonderful, and appropriateness. One thing is, what you mentioned is the consistency across the neighborhoods. We have many different neighborhoods. Many years ago, we actually looked at tree as a neighborhood issue. And we decided, the city council, we're going to have variations between different neighborhoods specific example is, I think it's still the case now. In Bridle Trails, we have lots of trees. We encourage them, people want them, and it's a neighborhood characteristic to have lots of trees. In Somerset area, where view is the premium, and people go there because of view. So, that means that the view becomes a consideration, and the height, of the trees and all that stuff. So it's important to understand that, and we still can maintain the tree canopy. There's more tree canopy in the Somerset area than a lot of other places in Somerset. It's one of the highest tree canopy
Is that
area.
true?
It is true. You look
No,
at the numbers.
I'm
It's over
asking-
50-some%. Look at your map. Yeah. So the point is, look at what you want and intend to do, okay? There's no one shoe fits all. And that's why Bellevue is great, because we respect neighborhoods. Neighborhood's important. That's why we have diversity. We have different backgrounds. We respect them. We consider them. But we all have one value if we can accomplish it. We do it from different ways, not just one way, okay? One shoe doesn't fit all. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Stokes.
Yeah, I think Councilmember Lee's brings up some interesting questions on that. I've long, and I really like the work you're doing on this, and this is a lot more complex and focused than we've had. I mean, it takes a while to get to this because it's a complex issue. It kind of tickles me when we talk about we don't have a lot of trees. People write in and say, we're destroying all the trees, and I drive coming down the connector, particularly at night. It's fun because on the one side coming down, there aren't any lights, and you have just trees. I mean, it's a forest. We have forest. We have a tremendous amount of trees. And we have different, as Councilman Lee pointed out, we have different neighborhoods that have different likes about how many trees and that kind of thing. And when we talk about the tree canopy overall, it's such an artificial goal because you have some places that hardly have any trees, and you have trees where there are 10 trees on every lot. So how do you, maybe we're missing some parts on how do we encourage people to have more tree canopy, or how to, and I think obviously in the developments, we need to work on that where they don't come down and cut all the trees out. And I really like having the goal of, what the trees that we need to leave there. But you can cut down a lot of trees and destroy the canopy without harming the trees that have 24-inch girth. So, I don't know, it's a complex issue, and I think what I'm saying is, when we go deeply into this and look at it, I think we find out that it's even a more complex problem than we had in a sense, but there's some fairly simple solutions for it. So I really appreciate the work you're doing on it, and I think giving us some time on this ordinance going forward is going to be very valuable. And partly is how do we also learn how do we get it across to developers and to homeowners that they can't just come down and cut a tree and get away with it, in a sense, if it's not within the law. So I really appreciate the work you've done. I think we're so much better than we were several years ago on this, and that's just because we've been working on it this time. And I really appreciate that, and looking forward to coming back. But I mean, I'd be glad to sit down and talk with you and see if what I'm thinking about this, what do you think, and how it can be worked into it. But again, I think I feel very confident we're on a good path, and you're doing great work for it. So thank you.
Okay, great. So we've come to the end of the meeting, and we have one more meeting this year where we will be lauding Councilmember Robertson at her last meeting. So I hope you have a good week, and we'll see you then. Meeting adjourned.